Hi, this is Lisa Pittman, and my responsible use policy proposed changes will be in red typeface bolded. I work for Wayne Local School District for the elementary building, and their program or their AUP, they had one for staff and one for students, so I have that broken down for you. The school district attempts to go ahead and state what the intention or vision is, which I thought was very thorough, about how it's the intention is to protect the privacy of staff members who use the school programs network, electronic messaging systems, excuse me, to the maximum extent possible, and given the operational security needs of the district. The purpose of this policy is to identify the limitations on this privacy and general restrictions applying to the use of computers and electronic messaging systems of the district intended for educational purposes and work-related communications is what I added because I felt that needed to be stated clearer than what my district had proposed. So they stated the acceptable and unacceptable uses. They didn't really have a title for acceptable uses. It was just in paragraph. It was really one paragraph. And then below you can see where it had it was bullet pointed unacceptable under any circumstances. So I felt like I needed to clarify and add a few things to acceptable uses. So I wanted to, since it didn't state that these were acceptable uses, I felt that needed to be stated. Acceptable use of, and then computers, computer network, messaging systems of the school district are intended for educational uses, work-related communication, incidental use of the email and voicemail system by staff members for personal communication is permitted as long as such communications are limited in number, are initiated during non-work periods, and do not interfere with the primary intended use of the system. Most people have cell phones, so I'm not sure why teachers would be using school phones any longer. I feel that's dated, but I left it in because that's going to be one of the primary uses for communicating within our building. I mean, we still have access to our cell phones. I went ahead and added, because I felt it needed to have a little more clarity. The Board of Education provides the district staff and students with access to the internet for limited educational purposes and utilizes educational online activities to enhance their overall learning opportunities. The district's internet access will not be used for personal purposes. I think that should be stated, even though in the paragraph above they say they can make phone calls. Like I said, I find that if I need to make a phone call during my planning period or lunch, then I use my cell phone. But I felt that that's important because I guess my own personal preference is I do have a work computer that's been assigned to me that is a laptop that I get to keep over the summer. Never, ever, ever do I use my computer that the school has issued to me for any purposes other than Wayne Local School Business. I purchased my own Chromebook. If I have anything that I need to take care of, I use my Chromebook or my own personal laptop. I never, ever, ever use the school hardware. That's just what I prefer. So I added that statement in. The next paragraph, building principals have authority to approve educational applications that will be integrated into the overall learning experience for students. A list of approved programs can be found in Appendix A, an approved application Appendix A. I added that as well. I feel it's important that there be a defined set of programs that teachers can use. Otherwise, we would just be pulling programs here and there. We're not sure of the security measures. I mean, we have good intentions, believe me. However, those can be misguided by, we could really find a program that may not be suitable, or maybe we didn't, fix the privacy settings or what have you. So it's just best to have a process where you have these certain applications approved through the building principal. We do have a tech department, but we're still like small town school. So even though we have a tech department, building principals have the authority to approve and not approve programs. And they do rely heavily on the tech department to approve those. Another paragraph that I wanted to add is a recommendation of an application can be made by completing the request for educational program use and submitting to the building principal. If there is a fee involved, these programs will need approval at the end of the previous academic year. Request for educational program use, Appendix B. I also added that as well. Then it goes on and it clearly states what we're not allowed to do. District employees should not use all district, Wayne local school infra-district email without approval, their immediate supervisor or building principal. I think that's important. Transmission of any language or images which are graphic and sexual nature. Transmission of jokes, pictures, or other materials which are obscene, lewd, vulgar, or disparaging of a person based on their race, color, sex, age, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation. And the list continues. The transmission of messages or any content which would be perceived by a reasonable person to be harassing. I added bullying or threatening because I thought that was important. Uses that constitute defamation, libel, or slander. Uses that violate copyright laws. Uses that attempt to gain unauthorized access to another computer system or to impair the operation of another computer system. For example, the transmission of computer virus or excessively large email. I added email attachment. I thought that was important to have in there. Any commercial or profit-making activities, any fundraising activities, unless specifically authorized by an administrator. My district was also fairly thorough, talked about neither the school's computer network or the broader internet, whether accessed at school or away from school, either during school hours or after school hours, or any type of electronic devices, including cellular telephones, may be used for the purpose of harassment. All forms of harassment in cyberspace, often called cyberbullying, are unacceptable. Cyberbullying, they go on to define that, includes but is not limited to the following misuse of technologies: harassing, teasing, intimidating, threatening, or terrorizing another person by sending or posting inappropriate and hurtful email messages, instant messages, text messages, digital pictures, or images or website postings, including blogs. Often the author, sender, or poster of the inappropriate materials is disguised, logged on as someone else. They also had another paragraph that students, staff, or community members who feel they've been the victims of such misuse of technology should not erase the offending material from the system. They should print a copy of the material and immediately report the incident to the school official, which is our building principal, and then it goes up the chain. All reports of harassment in cyberspace will be investigated fully. Sanctions may include, but are not limited to, the loss of computer privileges up to and including expulsion. I felt it was important, since we're in the age of social media, that there needed to be a statement in there. And I took this straight from the Ohio Education Association, and I included the website where I did get that. And then I also included the link to the Licensure Code of Professional Conduct, which I feel is important. All teachers need to be really aware of that. So the district understands the staff have private lives, and many are associated with social media. Below are guidelines to help navigate expectations of the district. And like I said, it's from the Ohio Education Association. Do learn the guidelines of the Licensure Code of Professional Conduct of Ohio teachers. Understand the privacy settings on every platform that you use. Understand that nothing is really private on social posts, because once it's out there, even for a second, anyone can take a screenshot. Understand your limits of First Amendment rights as an educator. Keep work and private life separate. I want to go back to this one, the First Amendment rights as educators. We're a little more limited than most, so you just need to really be aware of what you're posting. Monitor your internet footprint. Know the district responsibility use of policy. They call it the which I changed it to RUP. It was AUP. Don't vent online. Post anything related to a student and or parent. Accept friend requests from people you do not know. Accept friend requests from students and or parents. And I have an asterisk here. Join groups that are unprofessional and inappropriate. So don't do any of those. And then if the building principal and or district have deemed it reasonable to have a district building, grade level, or classroom social page, then you may accept friend requests from students and parents. Make sure all posts have comments turned off. I feel that that just opens up a whole can of worms. Security integrity. This seemed pretty thoughtful. Staff members shall not take any action which would compromise the security of any computer, networking, or messaging system. It would include unauthorized release of sharing passwords, intentional disabling security features. Staff members shall not take action which may adversely affect the integrity, functionality, or reliability of any computer. Also, it goes on to say that was in there, staff members shall report to the system administrator or school district administrator any actions by students which would violate the security or integrity of any computer, network, messaging system. Whenever such actions become known to them in the normal course of their work duties, this shall not be construed as creating any liability liability for staff members for the computer-related misconduct of students. I added any person photographed needs to have a signed parental consent form on file to be photographed and published on the district website, newsletter, or on social media. Those forms are sent home at the beginning of the year, and I do not have access to those. Right of access, our district, again, was very thorough about who has rights. Persons of privacy and their personal communications will attempt to preserve the privacy whenever possible. The operation and security needs of the district's computer network and messaging systems require that full access be available at all times. School district therefore reserves the right to access and inspect any computer device or electronic media within its system and any data, information, and messages which may be contained therein. All such data, information, and messages are the property of the school district, and staff members should have no expectations that any messages sent or received on the school district system will always remain private, and that is true. So students. The Wayne Local School District is pleased to provide students with access, yes, of course, to interconnected computer systems within the district, to the internet, worldwide network that provides various means of accessing educational opportunities. I added students will be assigned a school email because this is true. They get a school email. They will use it for all school-related electronic communications, including those to staff and individuals and or organizations outside of the district with whom they are communicating for school-related assignments. Students will use their school email directed by teachers to access online educational programs. Students will also use their school email to gain access to their assigned Google Classrooms. I felt that was important. If you scroll down, the next paragraph is fairly well stated. I went on to add students will not access social media during the district's internet for personal use. I think that was important, that they need to be using the internet for school-related activities. So I went on and did the unacceptable uses for students. I felt that was important. So I copied and pasted for staff for students and just took out a few. I left in the transmission of any language or images which are graphic and appropriate in nature, transmission of jokes, pictures, or other materials which are obscene, lewd, vulgar, disparaging of persons based on their race, color, sex, age, religion, national origin, or sexual orientation, the transmission of messages or any other content which would be perceived by a reasonable person to be harassing, bullying, or threatening, uses that constitute defamation, libel, slander, uses that violate copyright laws, uses that attempt to gain unauthorized access to another computer system and limit their operations, or any commercial or nonprofit activities. Parents should check, I added this, weekly school communications, their child's school email and their child's Google Classrooms. It's imperative that parents take responsibility and help educators teach their children how to use internet and the World Wide Web appropriately in social media. I also went on to add monitoring of the district's internet access is not limited to visual observations of online activities during class or use of specific monitoring tools to review browser history and network server and computer logs. And then I added due process rights for all users will be respected in the event there is a suspicion of inappropriate use of the educational technology. Users have no right or expectation to privacy when using the district's internet for educational technology purposes. And then it goes on to state that if you have questions to reach out to the building supervisor. I added the approved application Appendix A, and those are the ones that we currently use, and we keep adding more and taking more off. And then I added a form request for educational program use form Appendix B, because I think it's important. And I stated that this is something that has to be done at the end of the school year leading up to the new school year, especially if there's a cost involved in buildings. Building principals are factoring in costs. Many programs are free, but I just wanted to put that in there because I think it's important to have that form, which we do not have. But that's it. Thank you very much.